Your brand may be staying on top of current trends, but are you agile enough to stay relevant, resilient, and successful as customers, competition, and the world continues to change at a breakneck pace? I'm thrilled to share the newly revised version of my first book, The Agile Brand. I'm calling it The Agile Brand Revisited. It's been updated to reflect our continually changing world, and it provides 7 principles that form the backbone of an agile brand, offering detailed insights and actionable steps for incorporating them into your business strategy. This is the book that started it all, and I'm excited to share it with you. It's now available in print and digital formats and available everywhere. Learn more by going to the Agile Brand Guide website at www.agilebrandguide.com. Welcome to Season 5 of The Agile Brand with Greg Kihlstrom, where we talk with enterprise and technology platform leaders about the people, processes, and platforms that make marketing and customer experience successful, scalable, and sustainable. This is what creates an agile brand. I'm your host, Greg Kihlstrom, advisor and consultant for Fortune 1000 marketing and CX leaders and teams as principal and chief strategist at GK5A, and best-selling author, keynote speaker, entrepreneur, and agile certified coach. The Agile Brand podcast is brought to you by TEKsystems, an industry leader in full-stack technology services, talent services, and real-world application. For more information, go to teksystems.com. To sign up for the Agile Brand newsletter and get the latest insights and articles on marketing technology and CX, or to purchase a copy of my latest book, House of the Customer, go to gregkihlstrom.com. You can also find all my books on Amazon and other retailers. And now on to the show. Today we're going to talk about using customer feedback effectively and how businesses can take the wealth of information they collect from their customers to make better business decisions that help both the customer, their employees, and the business. To help me discuss this topic, I'd like to welcome Adam Alfia, founder of Realtime Feedback. Adam, welcome to the show.
Hey, Greg. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, looking forward to talking about this with you. And so why don't we start with you giving a little background on yourself and what you're currently doing at Realtime Feedback?
Sure. Thank you. So I've been in the customer experience space for a long time. I started on more so in the service industry. I used to have a large chain of automotive repair facilities here in Dallas, which is, if you can think about, people always saying, what are the people you don't trust? It's usually car repair guys and attorneys. So we were, I did that for about 17 years and had a booming business. I sold it all off in 2005. Just wanted to do something new. I was very tech centric, left technology. So I started a company in 2005 called Maestro, which was I want to say competitor, but it's not really a competitor to OnStar. OnStar, as you know, was the in-vehicle button that you can push in GM vehicles to get you to a live team of personal assistance agents, whatever it was. And it was only for GM vehicles. So we built a competitive product that we marketed to both dealerships and to manufacturers. And we currently still have Nissan, Infiniti, Mitsubishi, and Subaru. And any one of those vehicles, if you push a button, now it's more, not so much a button, it's a soft button on your screen. It'll come to our team of personal assistants here in Dallas that will help you with anything that you need, from driving directions to restaurant reservations to diagnosing your check engine light. We even do the emergency assistance. So if you were in a accident, the vehicle automatically calls us and we can get you ambulance and fire, whatever it is that hopefully you don't need. But so I've been doing that that's still a company that I'm heavily involved with, still run the day-to-day. But in 2010, I got into hospitality. I started opening restaurants, some bars, etc. And being the hands-on type of guy that I am, I'm always looking at the Google reviews, want to make sure that customers are happy. And I noticed probably about 2018, 2019, that reviews, especially ones where customers were complaining to the business, not so much about the business, was increasing. Meaning, I'm at a business, I had a bad experience, and rather than calling you on the phone or trying to get a manager's attention in the restaurant, they would go online and make a complaint as if they're making a complaint directly to the business to try to get it resolved. which was, strange. Why don't you just raise your hand or ask for a manager when you're, at the restaurant? And we found we did a bunch of focus groups, and that especially the younger generation, they don't want to talk to anybody anymore. They want it all as far as a digital experience. They grew up on their cell phones. So I said, well, we're not going to change their mentality as far as talking to a human. So if they want a digital experience to communicate, let's give it to them. And we started developing an in-house platform that we called Feedback for all of our restaurants. And it went over amazingly well. We saw that customers were far more likely to tell you how they feel digitally than they were in person. People get anxiety when they have a confrontation about something that's a negative experience, and they don't want to share that face to face. So it really took off in our restaurants, and I decided to make a business out of it. And here we are 5 years later, and just loving every minute of it.
Great. No, thanks for that intro. So we're going to talk about a few aspects of the customer experience today. I think touch a little bit on what you just mentioned as well. I wanted to start with one thing I know that you talk a lot about as well, and that's the importance of that first interaction that a customer has, and what it can really mean, both good and bad, for a brand. So can you talk a little bit about this, and why is that first interaction so important?
Yeah, so it amazes me. So I have a lot of experience in the automotive industry, but it amazes me how much money dealerships spend, for example, on beautiful building and coffee in the waiting room and shiny showroom and all this stuff, but then they hire somebody with almost zero personality to answer their phones, which is their gateway for their business. And one of the things, whenever I'm talking to people who own, no matter what kind of business it is, I said, do you call your main number on a regular basis, once a month, once every couple of months, just to see the customer experience? So, and I'm sure you've experienced this when you're calling a business for maybe the first time, and somebody answers the phone, they've got zero personality, they don't address you warmly, and then you ask, hey, I need to speak to, let's say, service department. They don't even say, sure, 1 second, let me get somebody on the phone. They just put you on hold without
Right.
saying anything, and then transfer you to either, an internal wait or to somebody's voicemail. So that interaction is so important. And, they hire somebody that should be, the greeting and the voice and the whole 9 yards part of your business, and just done very, very poorly after they spend millions of dollars on, the place. But the first interaction, when somebody walks into your dealership or that calls your business, they don't do a very good job. And that really sets the tone for, for your your entire experience, for that matter. So, and it happens all the time. I in my restaurants, for example, and I go to restaurants a lot. We travel, and we love to eat out. And the host or the hostess is such an important role at a restaurant. They're kind of coordinating the first 5-10 minutes of that experience when you're first walking in. And they do a lot of times, they have somebody that's 17, 18 years old, just checking people in, where it should be somebody that's, greeting you, especially at an expensive restaurant.
Right.
I'm sorry, it's going to be about a 15-20 minute wait. If you'd like, would you like for me to find you a place at the bar, maybe grab a cool drink, just some sort of interaction that makes you feel warm about, starting your dining experience. But a lot of people, a lot of companies fall flat when it comes to getting that first impression done right.
Yeah, and I mean, why do you think they do this? I mean, to your point, they're investing, to use the car showroom analogy, they're investing a ton of money on the interior design and coffee machines and so on and so forth. I mean, I can even say I've been guilty of this in the past. Back, this is many years ago at this point, but when I ran my marketing agency, we were a small shop. We didn't have somebody to answer the phone, so we got like a virtual person to answer the phone, and someone did exactly what you said, which was, have you ever called that number and and heard what they have to say? And I did that, and I was shocked at how just poor an experience was. So we ended up having to do something different. But lots of companies, they say, they're customer centric, they're putting customers first. Why aren't they focusing on, this first interaction? What are they focusing on instead, maybe?
I think it's an afterthought, number one.
Yeah.
You build a restaurant, you do all these things, you build a business, and you go, I need somebody to, greet people. Okay, well, get somebody over here that, and everybody shines in an interview, but you really need a people person that's, smiling. Because one of the things in my call center, we always tell our agents, you can hear a smile over the phone.
Yeah.
When somebody's happy on the other end. So, we always tell our agents, when you answer that phone, especially because we're representing big brands, when somebody calls in, you're on stage. So you need to make sure, I don't care. I understand that you've got personal issues and things are going on in your life, but when that customer calls in, you put a smile on your face because people can hear it, and you're on stage. You make sure that you're happy and cordial and inviting and all these things that make a good experience a good experience. But yeah, a lot of times it is an afterthought, and nobody really tells you the truth about their experience, and you're not calling the owner's not calling the number. So it's really something that doesn't get picked up in surveys, doesn't get picked, nobody really complains about it. So it just becomes a status quo.
Yeah, I know. And that's with my company, we ended up getting larger and had a receptionist and all that stuff. But, early on, no one, it finally took, and thankfully it took one blunt customer just saying, you got to do something about this. It's a problem. And I, sure enough, I did it myself. But, at a very large, in the enterprise space, you can't do that. You can't call a million times and figure out all of this stuff. So, how do these larger brands with a large volume of calls and interactions, how do they collect the type of feedback that's going to help them avoid these types of issues?
Well, it's funny because one of the things that, I get surveys all the time, as I'm sure you do and everybody else does. But since I'm in the industry now, I look at them and I see all the fatal flaws that these guys that are building these surveys make. And they try to gauge every little tiny aspect or facet of your experience. And we speak to a lot of CX people, customer experience people, and get their thoughts on. And there's one gentleman that actually did a podcast with Shep Hyken, who's he's a great CX guy. And the one thing he always touts is customers always have one thing that they would like to change about your business. If you ask them, what's the one thing you change? And if at the end of the call or during that interaction, the agent, asks you, hey, thanks for calling, blah, blah, blah. Hey, let me ask you a question. How was your experience getting me on the phone? Is there anything you'd like to change? And I'm sure that the customer would tell you, yeah, I've been on hold for 8 minutes. I got transferred to 15 departments. And if somebody just notes that and sends it to whoever's building these IVRs and these phone systems, would understand that customers hate calling. I mean, everybody makes fun of calling your cable provider or your cell phone company because it's a maze to get anybody to get to the right person who needs to take care of you. But and the customers don't want to call anybody anymore. So one of the things that we do with the feedback platform is make sure that we make it very, very easy. There's a thing called CES, Customer Effort Score. Yeah. How hard do you make it for customers to get in touch with you? And our platform allows a very, very simple interaction where you just tell us what the issue is that goes directly to a manager, and a manager responds and you get a text message back, and now you can begin dialogue and fix the issue, or they call you or whatever it is. But that's the entry point. Make it very, very easy for your customers to let you know about an issue that they're having.
Before we continue, I'd like to introduce you to a sponsor of the show, Partner Hero. Customer service outsourcing has long been available mainly to large enterprise businesses with long-term contracts and onerous procurement processes. Partner Hero is challenging business as usual and bringing the benefits of outsourcing to small and medium businesses as well as startups. With short, flexible contracts and fast ramp-up times, Partner Hero is making customer support outsourcing a viable option for small and medium businesses and startups. It's perfect for companies with seasonality expecting a temporary spike in volume or that simply need to scale up. And their focus on quality means your customers will get an experience that feels like it comes from your team. If you're ready to bring in outside customer support help for your company that feels like it's part of your existing team, check out Partner Hero. Head on over to partnerhero.com/agile. That's partnerhero.com/AGILE to book a free consultation with their solutions team. Mention you heard about Partner Hero from the Agile brand and they'll waive the setup fee. Now let's get back to the show. So we've talked about getting the feedback, collecting the feedback. Now let's talk about, what exactly do we do with this information? So, those companies that are collecting it, it's not just enough to collect it, of course, they need to do something with it. So, there's a lot of potential sources. I mean, surveys are certainly one source. There's a lot of different ways that you can glean information. Where should a large brand start that's probably inundated with potential feedback sources? But, where should they look?
Well, the first thing that people do, and this is one of the issues, especially in the brick and mortar, so retail stores, anywhere you're walking in and interacting with people, corporate will send you a survey, maybe a day later, sometimes a week later, that asks you all these questions, and that's coming from corporate. Well, we found that's a lot more effective. Instead of number one, corporate doesn't really do anything with that information other than high level analysis of the performance. But really, and you tell me, I filled out probably 300, 400 surveys in the last 5 or 6 years just to see what other companies are doing. And I think out of all of them, I've only been contacted back one time.
Yeah.
And it was 6 months later, but they did contact me, and it was Krispy Kreme. I filled out a survey for Krispy Kreme because I had a bad experience, but nobody ever calls you back. Nobody says, hey, I got your survey. I'd like to learn a little bit more about, what it is that you have a problem with and, how we can solve it. So that's the first thing, is that people who fill out surveys for their experience know that it's a one-way street. I'm giving you something, my valuable time and information and experience, but I get nothing back. Number one. Number two, there's very rarely that I see a company that when they collect this information, make a change that's visible to the customer. So if you fill out, if you go to Nordstrom or wherever it is, Best Buy, and you fill out their survey and you had an issue with a particular item or particular part of your experience, you're not going back 3 months later and go, oh, wow, based on, I complained about this, now there's a change. So you're never going to see that. So our solution is, instead of having it at the corporate level, have it at the store level, where you're letting your store managers take care of issues that their customers are complaining about, because not every retail location of a brand is going to be the same. So we use QR codes to collect information at the point of sale, at the point of experience, while the customers are walking around in the restrooms, when they're leaving, for them to give feedback. It's been very, very effective, because that feedback now is going to the store manager, who can not only respond to that customer, hey, thanks, Greg, I appreciate you letting us know, that, the bathroom was really dirty when you came in today. I've sent maintenance, our cleaning crew, they've already cleaned it up. Hopefully it'll be good next time you come in. Thank you very much for the information. So now the customer feels like he's contributed. He knows that it's going to be taken care of. And now you're not only responding to your customer, but you're also quickly reacting to issues that you might not be aware of. So it's been very, very effective when you do it at the store level rather at the corporate level, because corporate really doesn't. It collects data. It doesn't really. It takes a long time for it to filter down to the individual stores about specific issues in their storefront.
Yeah, and I think you kind of touched on this already, but first of all, I will say the survey thing, like survey fatigue, is real. It's
Right.
definitely agree. And I think just like you, I've had one response from one company. It was actually surprising, the company that responded to me, because I didn't regard them as having very good customer service, but they did. I gave them such a low net promoter score or whatever it was that I think I finally got a phone call. But yeah, so it does kind of feel like things go in a vacuum. But customer expectations are continually rising. There's all kinds of stats and anecdotes and everything about that. But it's responding to everything obviously is not going to be feasible for any, even small, medium, large organization. But how do you look at responding to the right ones and keep it, being nimble and profitable in doing so, so doing enough so that customer expectations are met, and yet not kind of over indexing on response.
Well, it's funny you say, because if you would have asked me about this 6 months ago, I would have told you, yeah, one of the biggest issues with a platform like ours is, okay, you light up the platform, you have it, running, and now you're getting 20 feedbacks a day, and customers on our platform can say, do you want a response? Yeah. If so, how do you want it? And overwhelmingly, I think it's like 99.5% of customers that do want a response want a text.
Yeah.
They don't want a phone call. They don't want you to email them. They want a text message. So we do have clients that when they first launch a program, they start getting these feedbacks, and they're not, because it's change is always hard. So now they have a new way of engaging with their customers. So we have success managers. Hey, you've got 20 open feedbacks since yesterday. Make sure you take care of them. Now what we've done with the rise of AI, just from the conversations we had with clients, hey, how can we make it better, et cetera. One of the biggest issues that we've seen in their complaints was, when I get these feedbacks in, sometimes they're very, very detailed. So I have to stop what I'm doing. I have to read the email. I have to absorb the information, and then I have to process a response that's empathetic and understanding and all that stuff. So now with AI, that's really completely changed the playing field, because we have AI integrated, ChatGPT integrated into our platform, that is now reading every feedback that comes in as it comes in. And when the manager, whoever is monitoring these feedbacks, it will automatically, within seconds, write a response for you that you can just glean over. Okay, this looks great, and then submit it, because people, unfortunately, our education system is faulting here in the U.S. A lot of them don't have very good verbal skills when it comes to writing eloquently and empathetically, et cetera, with grammatical mistakes and spelling mistakes, and that looks bad on a brand. So with the AI now, it writes incredibly well-written responses, and it addresses the issues in the response. We've taught the AI to be empathetic. It actually, the way we're doing it, we're telling it, you are the manager of a fitness facility or of a dealership. So it already knows that it's in a set.
The reality is striking. While we can stream movies on demand and order anything to our doorstep within a click, healthcare interactions often feel needlessly complex. Healthcare marketers, this one's for you. In Shop, Stream, Heal, author Adeline Ashley shares actionable insights from industry leaders like Netflix, Amazon, and Delta, showing how healthcare can thoughtfully adapt their winning strategies. This isn't about technology for technology's sake. It's about making healthcare more accessible, intuitive, and human. Drawing from real-world successes and lessons learned, the book shows you how to create healthcare experiences that truly meet patient needs while preserving clinical excellence. Shop, Stream, Heal by Adeline Ashley features a foreword from Dave Flanagan, CEO of Sitecore. It's published by the Agile brand and now available in print and digital formats on Amazon. Go to shopstreamheal.com for more information.
In a specific industry, and it responds. Now, it doesn't auto-respond. It just gives you a recommended response.
Yeah.
And we find that the AI that we've launched, 95% of our clients are actually using the recommended response, because we're monitoring whether they're editing it before they're sending it. And 95% of them are reading it, seeing it's great, and submitting it. So it's really changed. We used to have about a 4-minute response by the time you open the feedback, read the feedback, respond to the feedback, and close it out. It was about 4 minutes per feedback. And now it's under 1.5 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's really shaved off a bunch of time for them to, the brain drain of coming up with, a proper response for an angry customer.
Yeah, no. And I think that's a great use case for AI too, right? Because it's not, there's human oversight. So just in case, a name or something is spelled wrong or whatever, a human can have that oversight on it. And yet, to your point, a lot of the creativity in writing a response doesn't really need to be that creative. It's a nice greeting and a nice closing, and then the subject matter of the response. And so I think a lot of mental energy gets spent on things that don't really matter, right? And the real thing is to, give them a response that's meaningful and stuff. So no, I think that's a great use case for all of that.
Yeah. I mean, the next phase that we're working on now is actually where it takes all of your feedbacks every month and then looks at all the feedback you've received and then actually give you an analysis saying, here are the areas of concern that you need to focus on.
Nice.
So, hey, your restrooms are getting a lot of negative feedback. You need to concentrate on that. And then your cashiers between the hours of 4 and 7 are getting a lot of, we do a lot of grocery stores as well. So your cashiers between 4 and 7 p.m. for some reason are getting a lot of negative feedback. So it really looks at the feedback and not only tells you what's wrong, but when it's wrong, if it has pockets of, times that some things are popping up compared to others. So it's super intuitive. It's scary smart how intuitive the AI is. I mean, we use ChatGPT, so how intuitive ChatGPT is in understanding the problem and providing a solution.
Well, and it also, I would imagine, one of the challenges can be that anecdotal evidence of, the squeaky wheel. One person complains at one point, but, it sounds like what you're saying is trends can be identified where, this shift seems to be the problem shift or whatever the case may be, where, a human looking at various points of feedback and focusing on whatever the human is biased to look at may not be catching those kinds of trends. And so that's a really interesting case as well.
Yeah.
So one last topic I wanted to get to as well is just, I know you've talked about this quite a bit and I've written about it quite a bit as well, is just this relationship between customer satisfaction and employee engagement. So, there's lots of stats out there that draw a correlation here and lots of ways to look at it. But I'd love to hear your perspective on, how do you see this relationship between customer feedback and employee engagement?
Yeah. So, I mean, everything starts with your employees. So we always train the clients when we launch them that it's very important for employees to feel like they're getting recognition. So, for example, in grocery stores and in retail environments as well, when people are checking out the cashiers, we actually put out these QR codes, small little stickers that is eye level somewhere in the checkout area that says, "Please let my manager know if our employee was happy, if the checkout person is happy." And it's amazing that we get feedback from managers as soon as that customer's eyes hit that, and the person working the register or whoever it is sees that the customer sees that, their face smile, it lights up. Because they know that customer is now about to look at them to see what kind of engagement they have. And they know that customer has a direct line of communication with their manager if they didn't do a good job. So just the idea that, hey, I'm now looking at you to rate your performance. And if it's bad, a lot of the employees will say, "Hey, how did I do for you today?" Or "How's your checkout experience? Can you let my boss know?" And now they're getting recognition where the customer can scan that code and say, "Hey, I'm here. I just checked out. Susan was incredible." And those things, when the manager gets it, whenever they're having whether it's their weekly meeting or monthly meeting, "Hey, Susan, great job. You're getting a lot of great feedback." And those positive, the flip side of that is every positive feedback that we get, the system will actually ask you if you want to leave a Google review. So now we're pushing customers to, "Hey, if you had a great experience, let us know, let everybody else know on Google." And it automatically pushes you to that Google review site for that business. So, and they mention the employees by name, and employees absolutely love that. Recognition is really, I think, a lot of companies don't do a good job of employee recognition. So this way allows the customers who have their eyes and ears in the business to recognize employees that are happy and smiling and providing a great experience. And I think it's a win-win for everybody because, employees outside just a paycheck want to be recognized that they're doing a good job.
Yeah, that's great. Well, Adam, thanks so much for joining. I've got one last question before we wrap up here. So you've given a lot of great advice already, but what's one piece of advice you'd have for those brands listening out there, know they need to improve their method of collecting and implementing insights from their customer feedback? What can they do as a first step?
Respond. I think that's the number one thing that a lot of brands don't do well is, they collect data and they might have, if you're a large organization, you're sending out thousands of touch points, hundreds of thousands of touch points to your customers to let them gauge how their experience was. But if it's negative, respond, whether it's an automated response or something, use AI to respond back to customers and say, hey, Greg, we just got your survey. Thanks for letting us know specifically about these areas. We'll send it down to our management team, and hopefully we can find a solution that next time you come in will be a better experience. But sending those what feels like a black hole where I'm giving you time. I just spent 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes filling out a survey and not having anybody respond that they got it and they understand and that they're sorry, especially, like I said, negative ones, because that's the ones you really have to pay attention to. So yeah, responding to feedback is, I think, important.
Yeah, I love that and totally agree. Well, again, I'd like to thank Adam Alfia, founder of Realtime Feedback, for joining the show. You can learn more about Adam and Realtime Feedback by following the links in the show notes. Thanks again for listening to the Agile Brand with Greg Kihlstrom podcast, brought to you by Tech Systems. If you enjoyed the show, please take a minute to subscribe on your podcast channel of choice and leave us a rating so that others can find the show more easily. You can access more episodes of the show at www.gregkihlstrom.com. That's GregKihlstrom.com. To get a copy of my latest book, House of the Customer, visit my website, or you can find it on Amazon or other retailers. The Agile Brand is produced by Missing Link, a Latina-owned, strategy-driven, creatively fueled production co-op. From ideation to creation, they craft human connections through intelligent, engaging, and informative content. Until next time, stay agile.